My back quarter's done. We're on to the lower front half of the quarter. Obviously a lot of tension in this thing because when I cut it, you can see how that popped in. I have just a couple of spot welds to go here, and I'll have this off and I'll show you what she looks like behind. Looks like there's more than just spot welds holding this on. It looks like all this bodgy weld here has been welded to the inner. You can see where I've released all those spot welds, released all these bottom ones, and I get inside here and you can see where the carnage is. Look at all this crap, would you? Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's see if we can't just break it off with a bit of friendly persuasion. There you go. So that's a perfect reason why you never trust someone else's handiwork. Look at this little Christmas tree of big wire sticking through here. And you can see what they did with this plate. They just folded back, folded a little lip on it, shoved it inside. Man. Well, looks like we'll be making the same panel again as we did last time. This piece here looks shot to shit. This one's gone through 3 layers again like before. So I'll have to cut this out, the piece off. Not as high this time. It doesn't look as bad. And do a quite low panel here by the look of it. Once I give this a bit of a grind, replace that little dog leg section there, and see where it takes me. Where are we at? Where are we at? So, the last thing we talked about, I cut this piece out of here, which is the bottom of the dog leg. This is the dog leg that would normally be here on a sedan. This is the internal part of it. This is where I cut it out in here, so it sort of sat in. It's sat in like this. Get in there, you bloody thing. There we go. It sat in there like that, and you can see the bottom of this dog leg severely corroded. Lots of pinholes on the inside there. You can see through them down there, down to the ground. Again, so if you don't cut these bits out, you don't see what's going on. I'll clean up all this rust here. I'll spray some, when I cut this bottom panel off here, I'll spray some rust converter in there. So I'll make this part, make sure it's gonna fit correctly. I'll trial fit the outer skin on, which is this bit. This bit. So I'll put it on, make sure it's gonna fit pretty much like that. I'll make sure that dog leg fits inside it. It's nice and neat. I'll take this back off again. Take that dog leg piece back off again. I'll just tack screw it in there or something. And then I'll have to make this section here. So it's quite solid at the top. Gets really tinny down here, but solid at the top. Pinholes down here. Pinholes are from this side, they're not from inside the panel, which is good. So it's rusted between these 2 panels here. I'll take it off from this lip here. I'll probably drill that last spot weld out there, cut it down the back there, replace it up to that fold line there. I'm going to come down here with it and go diagonally across the front there with it. This is all solid still. I'm going to leave it there. That's not rust, that's just where I have to do the cuts to get that open. That's not rust, that's just a hole where I punched it in it, but that'll be gone anyway because I'm going to cut it down there to make this panel. When the new sill panel fits on, it will fit down over, I think I mentioned it before, that little lip. That little lip on this panel is that little lip that goes in there like that. So, alright, I'm going to take this, make a masking tape template of it. I'll show you when I've done it. Then I'll take it off, flatten it out, cut the piece, make the folds, trial fit. Fits okay, take it off, cut these out. Once I cut this out, I'll make that piece. Once that bit's right, I'll take it back off again, and then I'll get to that internal bit where you can see straight through 2 layers in here. So again, we're 3 layers thick. This bit of the panel this time is solid. I'm not going to make this part. I might just cut it down here, make this whole section above. That's quite hard to make that piece. Make it above there. I'll cut it out, see what it looks like. If it looks good, I'll leave it in. If it looks bad, I'll make that piece as well. You can see up here, this is crunchy, like it's supposed to be spot welded between the 3 panels, but the spot welds don't hold this whole section here. They're nice and tight down here near the jacking point, but up here it's pretty crap. So we'll make a plan and keep going. There you go. I told you on the other side, and I'll tell you again, that is why. Have a look at that sill. It almost looks perfect. Most people will probably cut a little patch out there. Cut a little patch out there. The rest of it's perfect. Perfectly straight. When you take it off, look what's behind it. Someone's MIG wire. Bring it this way from the camera, away from the light. Let me just zoom out a bit. There you go, look at that. That's the front. A couple of little pinholes, but look, someone's done some creative MIG welding there before. Didn't actually cut the rust out, they just welded up the pinholes there as well. But look at that, that's absolutely ratchet. That couldn't have been long before that was rusted right through. Imagine having that on the car, looking that freaking good. Put a little patch in there, put a little patch in there, and 2 years later, all this deep pitting here, or all this deep pitting around here, mate, you'd have to repaint the car. There you go. And then have a look. The rest of this sill here, it's got some surface rust on it, looks really good. All the way down to here. So I'm going to cut this section out down the bottom, below these holes here. Cut this section out right across the bottom here. And I'm going to punch out a new piece that fits in there. Because it's got some holes on the side, then it's got a couple of holes. See down there? A couple of holes down there. But again, that's all crap that's lurking. It looks good from the back other than that. And I'll just dress all that up, prep it all, get it in epoxy. This old black, it's still black here from original. So yeah, once I've put that new sill back in, then I'll make up this new patch panel that goes in here. We'll put that back in. And then we'll get this panel, like I said before, back on there, and we'll be motoring on. That's that patch, that blue patch there. This is what it looked like inside. I will try and match these parts back up for you. Sorry about the shitty photography, but look at that inside. Imagine just patching that bit, which was just here in front of that, and the rest of it's just ready to go. Holes everywhere. I'll say it again. Never trust the bodywork on these old Kingswoods or coupes, like GTS coupes or standard coupes. You've seen what I've done here already. I've done the whole floor. I've done the sill on the other side. I've got to actually cut this. Oops, I've got to cut this little bit out here yet, and put a patch in here too. This time I'm going to clean this out, leave that little lip there. Last time there was a bit of a gap there, and I had to sort of weld another piece in there to make it fit. So I'm going to do the same as I did before. I'm going to cut it just on the back, on the top of this flat here, just as it laps over the top. Trim it off, weld it up, and it'll be all ready to go. I'll take this camera off this tripod here. Again, sorry about the shit photography. But if you have a look up under here, I can still feel this is like black, smooth paint. The only tiny bit of surface rust is there where the hole for the the hole for your scuff plates goes through. Actually, still a screw in that hole there. I'll have to get that out. But yeah, you can see this is still all black inside. It's in really good nick, except for where the water runs in. I don't actually know how it gets in there. It must come in up the top here somewhere. Like, I can't see a gap, but there is those rust holes on the top here too. So I don't know how water tracked in there. It can't get in that body part up there. It must go in here. I think it's supposed to spill out down the bottom down here somewhere. But I don't know how it actually gets into. Oh, there you go. That little drain hole there, which is probably why this is rusted out. That little drain hole there, which is what I had to put back in the other side, allows water to get into this sill. So it's almost like you need to have a little hole in the sill just there to let that water run straight down and not refill it, because if water gets in there and can't get out, it'll end up in your car. So there's that tiny little drain hole there, which is supposed to let water run out. So out that hole, run across here, and it gets between the gap in the sill, and this is like the bit of the inner structure through that gap there. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and there's one back here that I've got to remake as well. So, oh well, let's keep motoring on. Enough for tonight. 12 o'clock, pretty late. We'll crack on with it again tomorrow. Right, there it is. You can see where that's taped up there. Got the masking tape on the outside of it. Fits on. That's going to make this as a flat piece. So the reason I put double lines is because I have to make that round rather than a tight bend. So I've cut it here and here. You can open it up flat. I double tape this so it all stays as one piece. So I go this direction, then I go that direction across it. I'll show you what this piece looks like. If you don't double tape it, the tape comes apart and your template's not worth a piece of crap. So there you can see. Now when I cut out the plate, you can actually see it won't lay exactly flat because it has a radius in this. So when I put the bead roller down these two here, I put some little sharp bends in it, and I'll turn that really tight, and then I'll just knock them around. I'll get it back to its shape, and then we'll do a bit of dolly work, and we'll go from there. Right, there's a bit of plate, just an off-cutter plate. There's the template on there. That's the actual piece I'm going to cut out. I'm going to cut out these snips, hopefully, if they're the right direction for cutting. Just small cut. Never full feature at the end of the stick, put it in line and increase it to the middle. There. Probably lazy to grab the ground. That's done, yeah, nice finish. Nice, I'll do it. Right, that's the bit of metal cut out there. One thing you got to remember is when you take it off, you're going to flip your metal over. This is the back side of it because you want it to press towards your the stickiness of the thing. So there's what that is there now. So that's the actual piece I've got to make there. And I'm going to put that on the bead roll. I'm going to try and just put a gentle radius in there. I'll take you over and I'll show you, just to kick it up enough, and then I'll dolly it around and get it nice and flat. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this is a bit smaller die than this bottom one here, so I'm going to run it through and just try and tip that edge up to a nice radius, and then I'll probably get this, once I got a bit of radius, and I'll just tip this edge up and around. Got the power on here. Start this thing up. Actually, before I start, I might just put a couple of shrinks in here first, just to get that little bit of radius in that I was talking about, which I'll do on the stretcher shrinker. You can see over in the background over there. So there's going to be a bit of a stretch in there at the moment. Let's change that to the shrinking dies. Let's screw these dies here. Let's see which way's forward. That way's forward. Alright, let's get some pressure on here. That's too fast. More pressure. Steady. You can see here, it's just starting to turn that up. You can see the line raising back. Show you. Probably sit. I can just see the drag line from this and the other side. Alright, ready to start. I'll go on time. I'm going to press again to the right. No, don't press it. I've got most of these right side. I'm going to get it. Just sneak up on the outside of the face. You can see again there, slow, to the other side as well, and see where it has to go down. Nice and close. Alright, we're pretty close there now. I've got a couple of track lines here I'm going to have to dolly out. So I'll test fit it and I'll see how it looks. Right, there's the next couple of templates I've got. One across the top here. It's got a weird cone shape on it, a couple of... They're not accurate, that's just to show me where they are. I'm going to put a center line in the middle of them in a sec, just to know where to put the middle of them. And then I'll find something to grind up that shape and I'll press it. Press it on the press. And then there's this long channel here. See, it's got a bit of a dent in it here, but there's this long channel that runs across here. And I don't know whether to stop it there or to stop it there. Might stop it there, and that way I can stop this one there, and I can make that other little transition, so little transition piece there. I'll make that separate, and that's separate. But yeah, that's tomorrow. I did say I was going to bed because it was midnight, but it's probably 12:30 now. But anyway, nice and quiet. Didn't bug the neighbours, so I just kept going. Right, we're back at it. I mentioned before that I'm going to make this in 3 small pieces. It's very difficult to make in one piece. I've taken this tape template off this section here where these what do you call them, dimples are here. I really, because you don't see this part, you don't see it back here because it's in behind the chassis rail. You could just put a flat plate through there. But to try and keep it authentic, I'm going to make it look exactly how it's supposed to. So here's my template's a bit rough, but you can get the general idea. That's what it looks like. Like I mentioned up here, because you can see the back of the sill from under the car, up here it's important to maintain those dimples, but down here, from the chassis rail back, there's none in this section anyway, but from the chassis rail back, all these dimples are really not required. You could just plate it through. Even this section up here where they've pressed it and it goes up, not really required because this is the next piece that goes over the top of it, right? Like that's going to be the next piece that goes over there, and that means absolutely nothing inside there. I don't know why they made it like that. You could just make a small dimple in this bottom bit here, like where this is going to go, and it would be perfectly enough. So as long as you get this back piece here to strength, and this overlaps it for strength, and the outer skin of the sill goes right over it. It's 3 layers thick. It's very strong, but this bit of metal is not. This is about, I don't know, around about 1 mil thick, the old body plate. But this bit in here is a lot more solid. It's 1.5 mil thick. It's a bit more structural. So I'm going to make this out of 1.5 mil plate. So I'll show you what I've done so far. I cut a piece of plate out a little bit bigger than this. I've just coloured in with a bit of black texture at the moment, a bit of black Sharpie or outline, just so I can scribe some lines and get it as accurate as I can. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do for pressing these dimples from the back into this shape. In case you didn't notice, new shirts were right. It's got the same logo on them, got them in black now. Have a look on the YouTube page, you can see them. If you've got a HQ, that's a pretty cool shirt to own. You can see the top half of a HQ Coupe in the top of the logo there. The Sully's got some Kustoms underneath it to keep an eye for it. What you can see there, that's just a bit of plate, but I've blacked one side out with a Sharpie. So what I tend to do with me Sharpies or textures, whatever it is, like I got 2 of these thick ones, like they're really thick. They're probably 10 mil, or they're probably 8 mil across and 12 mil deep. They're good for colouring in panels and ready for scribing. I got this little, I don't know, it looks like a pencil case for school, but it comes with all the smaller and different colour Sharpies in it. So I just bought the 2 bigger ones, shoved them in that same bag just to maintain them, because I'm forever putting textures and Sharpies down and I can't find them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to make a hole in the centre of these, and I'm going to put a hole in the top and bottom of these marks here, and I'm going to center pop them on there because this has got to flip over, and I need it made backwards. So reason being, these are to pop out this way. So if I mark it on here and I scribe it this way up, I can't see the back of it when I've got to press the dimples that direction. So I might even mark it this way while I got it here, and just put a little drill hole through some certain points. I can weld them up later. It might actually save me a bit of issues later down the track. So lay that out. It's not a scribe, but you know what it is. It's one of those. I'll show you exactly what it is. It is. Everyone must have these in their shed, in their garage, in their workshop. It's a Phillips head. It's a Phillips head driver. Goes in your battery driver, and I just cut the end off of there because the end of it was all destroyed from spinning in some high tensile screws I was doing. but the metal quality is really good, so it makes a great scriber. So you can see there, I scribed that to a pretty good point there. It was just starting to change a bit of colour on the top, but yeah, they make a really good scriber. Don't keep it in your pocket, it'll puncture your leg. So I'm going to find my ruler and scribe the outside of this. So I'm going to scribe the outside of this. Hey, no bit of again, always grab the ends because you have to cut off now. So when you start cutting, you'll see it's running, even if you're running the machine. Like I say, this is 1.5 on the plate. I'll roll steel, which is basically for doing all it. That's the answer there. I'm going to cut the centre of these. Pop the centre of these where I need the centre of the dimple to be. I'm going to pop the ends here of where my press lines are going to be. In case I lose the scribe lines. I might even put a few in the middle just to show where it's got to go through, but they're going to have just bend lines through them anyway. Alright, so now I've got that shape there. Now I will scribe these straight lines down here for the press lines. Down on. There you go, you can see how well those lines look over that black background there. There's the centre of my holes. I will show you what I'm going to do for pressing those dimples. I have a water socket. And anytime I find these at like a garage sale or whatever, I just pick them up. You get them for like 10 cents or something at the garage sale. You have to go and buy one. It'll probably be $10, maybe more. And this was an old transition piece, like from whatever that size is, maybe 50mm up to 75. And I cut it off because I was using it for the other part of it for pressing bushes in before. But see how this is a taper on the top. That taper matches where that press has got to go to, that line. And this actual angle here is good for the centre of it. So when I push those two together, I should get a pretty good dimple. If I don't, I will adjust this angle a bit. I might even dress that up a bit. It's got a few hit marks on it. And we'll see how it comes out. Right, that's it dressed up a bit. Hopefully that works for the shape and size I need. It should just push in that little bit amount. So we will, I'll drill these centre holes here and put some, actually I might even just scribe some lines and flip it over and find the back, and because it's got to get pressed forward, remember? Because it goes that way, so the dimple's got to come out towards me. So I can actually see the spot weld, the centre pop marks in the back. So I might just pop them. Which one's that one? That one there. That one there. That one there. So I need to be able to line that up straight in the middle there, which I will. Colour in the texture again and fix it up. So put that away like I said. Keep it out of sight, out of mind. Draw a centre line between these two pops. Oops, that wasn't very accurate. I don't need to go too accurate with this. I just need to be able to find the centre of that socket. I need to be able to look down the middle of it here to find it. Let me see if I just put a few scribes inside there. That looks pretty good. I will colour these lines in here so I know where it's going. I will trace around the outside so I know where the edge of the dimple should be. I'm probably going to heat this up and press it anyway, but I'm not sure how well it will press. Being 1.5 mil, how well it will press by itself. So I don't know how visible all these lines will be. But the idea is that'll go on the bottom of the press. This will go on the top. I'll line these up on centre, pretty much like I'm doing here by eye. Take that off. I'll heat that up until I get it sort of cherry red around the outside there, and then I'll put this on it and I'll put a plate on top and I'll press it down. Hopefully that works. Let's go to the press. Right, so essentially this is the setup. I've got that socket underneath, I've got the plate on top. I'm going to put this transition piece on top of there like that. Then I'm going to sit this on top of there, which means I've got to bring that press down closer to it already. And then I'm going to press it into there once I heat it up. So let's see if we can make that a bit closer without having to move the press, because that's quite far out already. So if I can bring it back up. Alright, that's good. We'll go from there. Let's get some heat on it. Got my gloves here ready to pick it up when I'm finished. This is going to distort this plate a fair bit, I would say, but when I'm done I'll have to dolly it back out. So let me just double check that those center lines are right. I don't like how that's on a turn. Let's just turn it straight. It's in the middle of that way. There's the centre there. Looks to be in the centre that way. Heat it up. You see the moisture leaving the plate there, look. Cherry red, but it's very red. Let's get that in the centre there. Like that. Let's get these on top. And let's get pressing. Oh, it's not exactly on centre there, but we're going to press it wherever I've got it right now. I can't move it. I'm hoping it's a bit off centre. I'll have to release it. Fuck it, that's hot. It's got to go under there. Oh, bugger. Alright, that's it about there. Let's give this a crack and see what happens. It'll either work or it won't work. I'm hoping to push a dimple into that plate. The 20-ton jack. It's gone in a bit. Let's get the 10-ton, mate. Alright, let's see what 10-ton has done to it. have a look at the plate, and there's the dimple. It looks pretty good. A little bit one-sided, but pretty good. Let's try and fix that up and get it pressed a bit more on the other side. I need to get a pneumatic pump for this. That doesn't look too bad, from what I can tell. Let's have a look at that. There's the dimple. Looks pretty good. I'm going to cool that down. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go straight the other one because if I leave it, I'm going to get more heat into it. I don't know how I'm going to hold it. I'm going to need my welding gloves to hold that while I heat it and then go again. Right, let's give you a closer look at doing it the opposite way this time. See that is getting pretty red there. Let's just check that we got this on center. That's going to be on center there. Let's just push it down. No, it's not. It's got to go across a bit. Ouch, that's hot. Let's get this on top. Bloody hell, come on. Let's get this socket back on center again. Find my line. It looks like it's on center there. Looks pretty close there. Let's give it a hit and see what happens. Actually, no, I can't. This is not in the middle of there. You bastard! It moved. Hopefully it's still hot enough. Still looks good that way. Still looks good that way. Let's give it a press, see what happens. See if it presses in there like the other one did. Let's get up to 10 ton again like last time. Alright, that's 10 ton on it. Let's see how it looks. Get that off. Get that off. Get my polymer glove on. And let's see how it looks from the back. There you go. I'll bring it around. I'll cool this down. I'll take it over and I'll show you how it looks. Right, so that's how it looks. So I'm now going to try and get some flatness back in it. That looks alright, doesn't it? Actually, it's supposed to look that way. So now those dimples are in there. I have to press this back, press this up, and press that back. So I might actually run it on my bead roller over there and just put it and just break it a few times, like break the line to bend it. Actually, I can probably get my press and just break it that way. I'll get in the press and I'll see how it looks. Right, so I got on the press, put those lines in it to make that shape. I've got to now trim it off at the top of these lines here. Actually, I might just put the template back on first and let's see how it looks. So that looks pretty good. Where those break lines are there, line up with that. Where these line up with here, they're the dimples I put in it. So I'll now trim the bottom off, trim the top off. Let me just double check that the height is still the same, hasn't moved at all. Get that break line back there, put that back in there. Yeah, that still looks pretty good. So I will now trim that off at that line, because that line was a millimetre bigger either way. So you can see it's actually a bit out at the bottom there. So you can see it's a millimetre out at each side. So I'll now trim that off, probably just with a grinder, and I'll show you how it looks. How does that look? What? Is that good? You can't see it? There it is, look at that. So this is cutting out all that rust and shit there. These are those dimples that I got on here, right? If you put this on here, and if you actually line it up with the other dimples there, oh, look how bloody good that is. Anyway, that's that little internal patch made, that first one. So got a little bit of twisting at the end of it here to get it to lay flat, but I'll get that sorted. Right now I'm going to take this piece out and we're going to make that bit next. Right, so there's that next piece we're going to take out, right? So you can see how it fits in there. Like that. This bit comes down flat, but then it really kicks back there to allow for that jacking hole. Now last time I made this whole section in one piece and it took me bloody days to make it, but what did that take me? Probably 1 hour to make that patch. Now that patch there goes in here, like that. The front goes up a bit, obviously. So that goes in there like that. And this bottom bit will go on here with these folds. So I am not 100% sure how I'm going to make this yet. I might actually try and make this in a flat section, break this line here on my bead roller, and I might actually bring it back over here, put a bit of heat on it and dolly it into position right here. This end obviously I'll make out straight so I can bend it around after, but let's give it a crack. Let's get a bit of plate cut for this. Let's break it on the bead roller, break that line so we can fold it back, and that's because that's obviously how it looks under there like that, and that's how it obviously looks up there like that. Let's give that a try. Well, let's give this a crack. I've moved my table out. You can see where I've cut the plate out. I've scribed the line. I need to bend this up. Do I have to bend it up or back? I can't remember. Actually, it sits that way. It says that way. So it's got to be, let me just double check which way that's got to go. Yep, I got it sussed. So what I did is I put a fairly large flat wheel. It's got a radius in the end. I'm trying to get this right on the last bit of the flat there. And then I'm going to run this bead roller through, and I'm going to just break it. I'll show you what I mean. The breaking, I have to do a bit of stretching around here. So if I just put a bit of load into that now, try and get You see around this bend. Around here, around this bend. I'm just going to go around. So I just come over it. Bring the rails in. Get the away. Off the edge there. You can kind of see from the back here. You can only just see it, but you can see from the back there it's starting to turn. So I'm going to go over that a few more times now. I've got to get a bit wider out there in that radius. I'm a bit tight there. Let's try that again. I'll get it might get it down. So I'm going to the race. Go around here. You have to worry about that raise there. Get that in here. And off you go. Alright, we're going to stretch that there a bit more now, and you can see how it's starting to really come around and look like that other piece. I need that line to sort of flow nicely around there. Alright, so I cut this piece out, and look what we got in the sill. So this piece come out of here. This is the bit you see me making. Stick it up there for now, but look what we got in here. A freaking rat's nest in the sill of the car. How could it possibly get in there? I don't know. Must get through. When you look down there, or you look up in here, they must get in that hole there, and into the sill that way somehow. It must connect in behind that channel, and gets into there. So I'll get the vacuum cleaner now and suck all that crap out. I'll have to shove the hose right up there because the panel's pretty clean in there behind. Look, it's in good nick. So you can see a bit of silver still here from the paint when they painted. It must have leaked down through inside the car somehow. But yeah, like that tiny little pinhole there. I mean, most people wouldn't take this off, but you can see all that pitting on that side of it, which only equated to one tiny pinhole in the back. You can see that my finger blocks it there, and this little crack up here. So anyway, I'll get the vacuum cleaner out, suck the rat's nest out of the sill. Alright, no more rat's nest, but I know how they get in the sill. That channel, I don't know if you can see, that channel that goes up through there is my chassis rail. Goes up over the wheel arch, up that hole there. So that's how they're getting in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this nozzle off the end of the hose, shove it up over that wheel, over that chassis rail there, shove it up behind the sill because I don't have to cut the rest of this sill out, and get any other remnants of old mate rat or mouse back out of the car. can see there how far up the chassis I was. I had this right up in here. So here's my hose. I'll show you where we got to. So I had the hose here. We went right up over that hump and down into there. So there's a hole at the end there. I'll shove the hose up there, try and suck any remnants at the end there. And it only went this far. I don't know if you can see that. It only went this far here. Actually, there's a hole here too. Now it's could have got in. That's just between where the front chassis meets this back unibody chassis rail. There's a hole there. That's between the rubber mounts. They could have been up in there, or we could have gone up to the back there. Either way, he's not there now, and I've destroyed his home. Sorry, mouse. All right. Right, that's the part in there now. That's got to go up to there. I'm going to get a couple of tack welds on the back of here. Then I'm going to pull the front down, line up that edge there. Actually, I'm not going to line that edge up. I'm going to line that edge up. Then I'm going to get a spot weld in that hole there, because this has got to come off. And then once I do that, I'll get the clamps on, tighten up along here. Then I'll get that other piece, which is this piece here, ready to put in there, and I'll trim this bottom piece to suit. So I won't show you me welding it, but I'll just get it prepped and I'll show you when it's done. There you go. 5 minutes later, it's welded in. I had to put a little tack weld there to hold it in position. It was just trying to twist. What I've got to do now is get my straight edge across the bottom here, just dolly. I think that bit there is a bit proud, see how it's sticking out of it? Dolly it up a little bit, grind all these welds back, sit the other plate on there, weld, cut that top of that piece off, weld, and I'll grind all these welds up, tack weld that new one in. Once that's tack welded in, I'll then make this piece here, I'll tack weld that in, then I will I'll weld it all up, grind it up, paint it, make the next piece. Right, that's the piece in there. You can see, I'll just zoom in a bit for you. That's that piece in there. What I'm going to do now is, I've got this piece that I made. You can see it's all rust proofed on the back. I'm going to tack this piece into here. I'm going to start this side first, and I'm gradually going to push it down and get it into position. I'm not welding the bottom of that because that's going to be cut off there, but I will tack weld it all through here. And then I've got a bit of trimming to do at the back here just to get it exactly right, because I feel it a little bit tight at the top right there. Let me just make sure it's flush first. Alright, I'll show you how that's looking so far. There you go. I mean, I haven't even wiped off all the soot and stuff, but that's how it currently looks. I've got to dress that weld down there. Once I've dressed that weld, I'm probably going to finish this weld across here, finish this weld across the top here, because I have a little dog leg piece that's got to go in here, which is, I don't know if you remember me making it earlier on. It is this piece that goes in here. So I haven't finished it yet, but when I get that weld done and knocked up, I'll knock this piece back in, redo those spot welds in there, and I'll turn it around, and then I'll be able to fit that dog leg in there too. So that's how it's looking, fully welded in, except where that rusty bit is I've got to cut out next. Now I'm just going to finish up all the welds with this little finger grinder, or finger belt grinder, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. You don't need to watch that. Right, that's how it's looking at the moment. It's been welded up here, across here. Those marks there are the original spot welds. I left them there. I just welded full play across. So this this bottom bit was separate. You can see where it changes direction up here. What I'll do now is I'll knock this side around. I'll spray some weld through primer behind it. I'll knock this side back around. Then I'll try and get this dog leg on. Once I get that dog leg on there, I will cut out this piece through here and I will replace that dodgy bit too. Right, and that's the next piece I'm cutting out. Like I said, I'll just knock that edge around. I've got to go dolly and straighten it back up again. Get some spot welds in there. That'll be the inner wheel well still intact. And then I don't know if I should attack that bit there or if I should do this dog leg bit. Maybe I should do this dog leg bit first. And then take on that next bit. But maybe I should cut that first because it's getting a bit late. Maybe it needs the grinder to happen now, so I might actually cut that out now. Well, I might actually make the piece now. Right, so we're cutting that bottom bit out. That next bit, that rusty bit through here. So there's my cut line up there. I don't know if you can see it. I've drilled out those spot welds there from the bottom. There's the new ones from the other side where we're on the welding. Now I'm going to go through. I've cut the top already. I'm going to try and knock this thing off with a chisel. So I'll rotate it back over and we'll give it a crack. Right, there's that bit pressed up, ready to weld in. I've just got to push the top down in there to even these gaps up. I'll get a tack right on this edge because it's nice and smooth. I will get a tack on this edge here. Once I've tacked the other side, I can knock it down like that. Get nice and smooth. Then what I did was because this actually tapered down here, I put a slice in it so I can actually pull it down into position, and I'll put a weld across the top here and then fully weld the thing in. Right, that's how it looks. So remember we cut this off from here all the way along. There's a join there. We made this bottom section here, which includes all that bottom under there, and then we made this side patch up here across the top of there and down there. So those two dimples are new. They look not perfect, but I don't think they need to because you don't see them. Like I said, they're inside. Can't see them from the back because the chassis rail is part of it. I really don't know why I wasted my time doing it, but I just like things to be right. That's those two dimples back in there. The rail's back on the bottom here, which the sill attaches to, or the bottom of this section goes on. So like I mentioned before, 40,000 times, this is the next piece I've got to make now, which is I might actually make it in a few pieces. Kind of fits on there, wraps around the bottom there. That's the jacking point, which lines up with that slot there. So it's sort of right under there as a bend. It's got these two drain grooves here, which line up with those little slots in the bottom of the sill. Let the water drain it. That gets in between that in that quarter window, runs down in here, then runs out these drains. That's why they rust. They fill up with dirt. I don't know, if I had one and I was a bit worried about it, I'd be taking the internal door card off the back seat, and because you can get it, there's a gap. On the outside of here, this is all sealed up, but there's a gap between this quarter panel and this panel here, and you could probably, I don't know if you can stick a vacuum or something down there and suck the dirt out, or pour some water down there, make sure these are clear, blow some water back up underneath, make sure it's clear, otherwise you're just going to have it rust in the future. And then when you're done and you know it's all good, spray some like body deadener or some wax or fish oil or something down there to stop them rusting, because you can see it didn't rust anywhere else along the inside of that quarter, except right here. All this section down here was gone. Righto, next dog leg piece on, then we'll make that patch there. Alright, sometimes you've got to go backwards to go forwards. I have that template there, but I also have the two pieces that I cut out of it, so I did some dodgy welding on it. Pretty dodgy because the back is so rusty. Again, like imagine had that on there, that's inside, which you can't see. Alright, so you'd have that in there. And then you wouldn't have seen the layers behind it as well. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to save it. We're here to fix it up. Here you can see how that bottom jacking hole there now lines up with that piece that I put in there. And here at the end, you see how this end piece here, I don't know if you can see it, see how it sort of steps down a bit. Steps down a bit because that's where the outer skin goes to, and it leaves these holes, that dent there and that dent there. It leaves them open for the water to flow outside of this panel and down between the two skins. So it is a really shit design. They probably could have brought this thing down and brought it into there and left this a big open space for water to drain out with some decent sized holes in the bottom. But they didn't do it. But yeah, so I'm going to get some rust preventative on there and some black epoxy, black enamel on there. Anywhere it's going to be welded, so this has got to get welded through that side in there. So in the back of here I'm going to have to drill some spot weld holes down the side of here before I do anything else, because you can see there 1, 2, 3, 4 spot welds were in the back of there before, which held that bit on. And then when I make the piece, I'll make some spot weld holes in the bottom so I can weld it into there. So what's my plan? My plan is make the front face, make those two dent sections separate, and then make that whole bottom as another piece. So it's a bit tricky at the front here. It has this bit where it kicks out. See where my thumb is there? Hang on a sec. See here how it goes in with the inner part there, but it kicks out right there to join up with this outer sill section. It's a little bit tricky there, so I'll have to slit it, bend it forward, and then put weld a small piece in there and dress it up.